The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Salem Media of Hawaii.
Welcome to Generations Radio, where the focus is on our seniors and their families. We are here each Saturday afternoon from 5 until 6 p.m., bringing you resourceful information with our radio team of professionals in the field of aging. Stay with us for the next 1 hour as we explore different ways to make life more exciting and meaningful for our extraordinary seniors. Right here on AM 690 The Answer. And now, here is our host and the publisher of Generations Magazine, Percy Ihara.
Welcome back to Generations Radio. This is Percy Ihara, every Saturday at 5 o'clock and Sundays from 3 to 4 here on AM 690 The Answer. And as well as we always mention this, and we're growing it, our Generations 808 website has all our past shows as well. And coming in about 2 weeks, week and a half, by about March 10th, 12th, we're going to have a new website up. So it'll be nice and beautiful, thanks to our web designer, Mark Moran, who's going to be redesigning our website. But thank you for visiting our website. Our website, on average, the person that comes to our website views 17 to 19 pages, which is unbelievable. Probably one of the most viewed website in terms of how long they stayed there. And we're very happy for that. As you guys know, the best way to get a copy is pick up our magazine at any state library, even on Molokai, on the Big Island, and in Kauai, Maui. So thank you very much for those of you that are picking the magazine up and reading online. This is March, and the Capitol is in session, and one of my favorite people to talk about crime, of course, is our prosecuting attorney, Mr. Keith Kaneshiro. Thanks for coming on by the show, Keith.
Hi, Percy. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and so, I've been reading a lot of stuff in the paper, and you know that our community is very, very thankful for what you've been doing in our elder law area with your attorney, Scott Spallini here. But can you talk about some of the issues that are really pressing at the Capitol right now?
Well, I think one of the controversial bills that's going through the legislature is a sex trafficking bill. And the reason why is because last year it passed and the governor vetoed the bill based on some of the recommendations that I made and my request to veto the bill. We were prosecuting those cases and we were very, very effective. And then the legislature decided they wanted to change the law. Now they have a bill again this year, and it's going through the legislature. And one of the disturbing things about the bill that's going through is they want to make prostitution with minors or minors who are involved in prostitution. They want to make it legal.
Legal?
Or if at the most, make it a violation, which is really, it's instead of protecting the minors, what they're doing is they're endangering the minors because now the minors will be prey for the pimps.
Right.
So, and that's something that we're trying to stop at the legislature. I did go to the hearings, and the bill appears to be moving, and we'll see what happens. And the reason I say this is, it's really, people might think, well, sex trafficking, involving prostitution doesn't involve me. But what we've seen in the community is some of the prostitutes that are involved or sex trafficking victims are minors, students from the schools.
What about about minors from the mainland?
Minors from the mainland, but we see the local minors where they drop out of school, they're truancy, they're runaways, and they live in the streets, and the pimps come and prey on them. So we're trying to help them and trying to save them and go after the pimps.
That's kind of a scary thought, don't you think?
It is very scary. And the fact that the legislature is now considering to make it at the most a violation, it's even more scary because now the pimps going out, when they recruit, they're going to say, you can make money being involved in prostitution, and don't worry, nothing's going to happen to you. There's no consequences. So, these kids on the street, that's what they're going to get involved in.
Is there a hearing coming up at all, and who's pushing the bill on the Senate and the House side?
Well, there's the bill just went through the House Judiciary, and it went to the House Finance Committee. The hearing was yesterday, and they decided to move the bill out with amendments. I'm not sure what amendments have been made, so it looks like it's going to pass the House and go over to the Senate.
And so, but if that does become law, is it being enacted right away?
Usually it's effective July 1st.
July 1st. That's a scary thought.
It is. It is very scary.
Oh. And so I know you mentioned a lot of other things, but you say you just got a grant for new programs?
Yes, we got a federal grant. It's $400,000 a year for 2 years, and it's for the prosecution of sex assault cases, difficult sex assault cases. As you know, we have prosecuted sex assault cases in which the female victims were under influence of alcohol, were drunk, intoxicated, and we were able to prosecute those cases and win those cases.
One just happened recently.
Yes, there was one recently involving a taxi cab driver in which the victim was intoxicated, and we got a conviction, and the judge just sentenced the taxi cab driver to 5 years imprisonment yesterday. Yeah. Now, sex assault involves, and some of the difficult cases involve elders too. And
I know there's been a few cases. I'm kind of surprised, but yeah.
They have been. And we want to pursue those cases. And some of the difficulty in the elders is they sometimes don't want to prosecute. Other times
they're embarrassed.
Other times they don't remember all the incidents because of the age. But we want to proceed and prosecute because we want to protect them.
So that money doesn't go toward that situation in the paper about the amount of cases that they took the sex kits and then they were not ever used.
No, that goes for the prosecution itself. The sex kit legislation that the legislature wants the police to test or us to make the request to test all the sex kits involve a lot of other issues. One thing it involves is the amount of money. There's no money in the bills to pay for the analysis of all sex kits. The second thing is a lot of victims don't want to proceed. They don't want it to be tested. They want to put that part of their life in the past and move on.
Right.
And a third issue is some of the, I guess the sex assaults. The defense is consensual, so it's not identifying the perpetrator, and that's what the kids is for, to identify it. We already know, so to test the kids is really not necessary. So to test all the kids is going to spend a lot of money. But these are some things we have to work out with the legislature and let them know.
Well, I appreciate that because I think we're having a lot of issues that at the Capitol that we need to have experts like yourself. You know, one of the big topics you brought up the issue about our prisons. And yes. You gave me a national article from the Wall Street Journal about that. Can you explain further about this issue?
Well, on the prison issue, there's a whole concept going on that the prisons are full with drug possessors and all the less serious crimes. And also there's some races that are it's filled with particular races. And on the mainland is Afro-Americans. In Hawaii, it's the Hawaiians. The problem is, it's a myth on why the prisons are filled. The prisons are filled because of the crimes that were committed in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and these were violent crimes. So a lot of the inmates in prisons are there for violent crimes. I think over 55% are for violent crimes. There's, I think, maybe only 16% are there for drug offenses. Right. And the drug offenses they're in prison for they were trafficking drugs. They were not just possessing. So the conception that, or the thought that people who just possess a small amount of marijuana or drugs are in prison for a long time, that's not
true. I read the article as well, and I was surprised how most of the people that are in there for drugs are the traffickers, not the users.
The traffickers. And the ones that are in there for possession is because they were trafficking drugs and they pre-bargained the case down to possession to get a lesser sentence, but they still went to prison.
Yeah.
And but it was trafficking cases.
So are you involved at all in legislation for moving the prisons, or can I ask you that question?
Yes, you can. Yeah. I mean, I was involved when I was a director of public safety, when I was the one who initiated that we should have a prison here in Hawaii. Because what I did as a director of public safety is we decided to send more inmates to the mainland instead of just 300 in the past. It was just 300. We ended up sending about 1,200.
And we're still doing that?
We're still doing that. And now to open up prison beds over here, And now I also advocated to have a prison built in Hawaii. And at one point, it was about to go through because we got a private business to agree to build a prison as long as we would house the inmates there and we'll pay like the lease rent.
Right.
And at the last minute, I guess the government, after I left, the government decided not to pursue that and not to build a new prison in Hawaii. So it became just sending the inmates away. So now they're looking again at building a prison in Hawaii. And I'm in favor of that. I think they should do that, not just to meet the existing needs, but to project for the future. Because in a new prison, you can put in all the programs that you need for the inmates. Don't have to wait till they get out of prison.
Well, it'd be interesting. I was reading a paper about how them possibly moving the one that's down in Dillingham and using that area to have, some condominiums, some low rent projects. That might be good. Just depending on who wants it in their neighborhood.
Well, the property on Dillingham or Triple C is very valuable because it's within the city, and so they're looking at transit oriented development. Probably put in not only condominiums or housing, but even I guess strip malls or things like that to generate business. I think because of the property where it's located, it's very valuable. In that situation, maybe that's the justification for why you want to move OCCC out of there into a different location. But you have to find a location where you can house a larger amount of inmates than what we have now, because the prisons are overcrowded.
Right. And ours is pretty overcrowded. We're still sending them to the mainland.
Yes, we are. And we're also not only sending them to the mainland. The system is also not sending inmates who should go to prison. They're not sending them to prison. And we're also seeing them releasing inmates from prison earlier than they should be.
Yeah, but that's through the probation board, right? It's nothing to do with
the
their
parole board. Yes, the parole board, and the parole board has been very good, and they have been very responsive and responsible. But they're getting a lot of pressure from the legislature and from the administration to release some of the inmates because the prisons are overcrowded. Now, one of the things when we were looking at justice reinvestment and all that concept, they were saying, if the crime rate is going down, why are there so many people in prison? And the real reason is the crime rate went down because there are a lot of people in prison, and it shouldn't be because the crime rate going down, you shouldn't be releasing those guys from prison. I was asked a question. One of the things posed was a representation was made that the property crime rate went down 40%. So a representative asked me, and he said, "Wow, you folks must be doing a good job if it went down 40%. Well, what should we do?" And I said, "Well, what we should not do is change the laws. What you folks are looking at, you're looking at trying to change the laws. Keep doing what we're doing."
Right.
If the crime rate is going down. So I think we need to not change. We need to understand why the crime rate went down. We need to understand what incarceration does. And the person who wrote the article about the rise and fall of violent crime in America talked about the crime rate going down because a lot of these violent criminals were going to prison and being kept in prison for a while. We have to understand that concept and follow that concept.
Well, especially the more violent criminals and maybe the more traffickers. I know there's a certain limit on how much they're distributing, but they got to be really, that to me is the scariest thought.
Yeah, people look at drug offense and say, well, they're not violent crimes, but the violent crimes are the result of drugs, drug offenses, as a result of property criminals, people who repeatedly committing property crimes eventually escalate and commit violent crimes. So we cannot say that property crimes and drug crimes are not serious crimes because they lead to serious crimes.
Yeah. So one of the other items I want to talk to you about, you have the Honolulu Family Justice Center.
Yes.
Can you explain to our audience what that is? That's relatively new to me as well.
The Honolulu Family Justice Center was developed from the concept that in a lot of our domestic violence cases, the victims recant, about 90%, 95%. They recant, they refuse to testify because they have to live in a violent environment. They rely on the support of the abusing spouse, and they have nowhere to go. What the Honolulu Family Justice Center is to provide centralized services for the domestic violence victims, and also to allow them to escape the violent environment. So what it is the victims can live. We found an apartment complex. They can live in a unit for up to 2 years, rent-free, and we'll feed them, and they'll testify against the abusing spouse. We'll also give them job training. We'll give them drug treatment if needed, medical services if needed, and to help them change their life and start a new life and to become more self-sufficient. And eventually we'll find jobs for them. And this is not only for victims of domestic violence, but victims of sex assault and human trafficking. We're going to house these female victims in the Family Justice Center.
So is that already started already? And do you have?
We have the property. The property's purchased. It's all. It's ready to be inhabited. But what we're doing is we're enhancing the security aspect of the property. We want to make sure the property is secured because we want to protect the victims who are trying to escape the violent environment. Because as you know, some of the domestic violence victims or even the human trafficking victims, the people who are taking advantage of them will pursue them and will stalk them. So we want to make sure they're protected.
And about how many people are going to be able to fit into the program?
We're looking at about 20 right now that we can house. And hopefully we'll open by sometime this summer. Yeah.
And then the last one we want to talk about, you wrote down here, intelligence-driven crime reduction strategy. Now, that's a long one. You got me on that one.
Okay, well, what it is, we always hear this concept about a small percentage of the criminals committing a huge percentage of the crimes. And we know that crimes occur in a certain area, and there's certain people that are committing a lot of the crimes. So what we're doing is the police and the prosecutors will get together and work together and bring together all the intelligence, the data of particular crimes in particular areas, and we'll focus on those areas, and we'll focus on the people who are driving the crime rate in that particular area, especially the violent crime. And what the prosecutors will be doing is be working more closely with the crime reduction unit in the particular district, the patrol officers in the district, and also with the neighborhood board, because the neighbors know what criminals live in the district and what crime occurring in that district. And they will identify the people who are committing the crimes in that area, and we're going to focus on those people because, we have a lot of cases on them, and we'll make sure we focus on those cases.
Well, I noticed you had a number of cases downtown.
Yes.
Some murders and some abuse, and slowly that's being cleaned up?
Yes. We try to focus on certain people, certain areas, certain type of crimes that are occurring. And, obviously some of these are property crimes. We know that there's a huge property crime rate in Kailua, not only with the residents, but also with tourists.
Oh, yeah.
So we want to focus on that areas, and the people who are committing the crimes, some of them are involved in drug distribution and drug use. And there's some drug houses that they're working out of. So we're going to look at those areas and focus on those drug houses and those people.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more of these, but HPD and yourself have been doing a good job at that. Now, are you folks involved at all with the homeless issue? Because if I can ask you, because I'm hearing a lot more money is being poured into that. I just heard about the Justice Center. Victor over there was talking about having a big model of a facility with smaller units inside. Is that going to be an issue down the road for us?
Well, it's I guess ironic that you asked the question because I just testified before the Senate Ways and Means Committee and the Joint Ways and Means and Judiciary Committee. And Senator Joe Takuta drafted and introduced a bill to create a community court outreach project in which the court will go to each community instead of having the defendants, offenders come to the court. We'll go there because A lot of these offenders are committing a small type of crime like drinking in public, violating the park rules in the park late at night, and they're given citations. Also, I guess they're smoking in public, things, some of the less serious offenses. And these are the cases that's clogging up our courtrooms. So we want to resolve all these cases. So along with the public defender's office and my office, we're going to bring all these cases and work with these people and get them to come to court. Public defenders will let us know when, and we'll take the court to them wherever they live and have the court there, and they will come with plea agreements that to resolve all the cases. And some of them need to resolve the cases so they can get licenses and move on with their life. Resolve the cases, but there will be still consequences. And the consequences will not be incarceration. It will not be fines because obviously they don't have money. The consequence will be community service. They'll be ordered to the court, by the court, to do community service. And they will be also ordered by the court to seek some mental health treatment, some drug treatment, or in some counseling, homeless counseling. So it is to address that homeless population who have all these cases because these cases are clogging up the courtrooms.
Well, I was talking to a couple of people recently about how homelessness is a big issue, but I think the bigger issue, very soon, if not 3 to 5 years, is going to be homeless men and women that are going to be get up in age and seniors and have mental issues or have Alzheimer's. How are we going to handle that?
Yeah, so we want to handle that earlier. Yes. So the people who have signs of mental health, let's address the mental health issues earlier. And a lot of them, you can't force them to go to the homeless shelters. You can't force them to go to seek treatment right now. But with this court, with a court order, the court will order them to do this. So they will have to do this and comply with the court order. Now, I keep on saying that homelessness does not equate to lawlessness. Just because they're homeless does not mean they can violate the law. Mm-hmm. And these will still have consequences.
Well, I hope so, because you see these pocket communities down here, down off the viaduct. We've seen people in the Makiki area. I just heard about one in Kahala, where it's just like little communities themselves.
Yes. And if we have identified offenders in those communities and they have agreed that they want to resolve their cases, we'll take the court to those communities, those areas, and have the court sessions there.
Yeah. It's very important that we get that. So thank you very much. We're here with Keith Kaneshiro, prosecuting attorney for Honolulu and Oahu. We're going to take a short break, but we want to come back. And Keith, I know you have some experience with caregiving, and I know your parents, but we also have Mr. Scott Spallino, the elder abuse attorney that writes for Generations Magazine. We'll talk about some of those senior-related issues. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Moon Physical Therapy is here to help you back to recovery. Moon Physical Therapy is located on Ward Avenue across from Sports Authority. Physician prescribed for motor vehicle accidents, workman's comp, or that body pain that comes from rushing to play without warming up. Also event cardiopulmonary rehabilitation with our one-on-one patient care. Moon's Aquatherapy heated endless pool allows for low-impact exercise with less pain on land. We will give you the right exercises to get you back to health. Ask your doctor to prescribe Moon Physical Therapy. Moon Physical Therapy. We achieve results.
Aloha, this is Martha Clopin.
And Al Harrington. Choosing the right Medicare plan not only saves you money, it also helps you avoid headaches and heartaches down the road.
We want to remind everyone
to listen to a Medicare Moment with Martha, Sundays from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. as we help answer important questions on Medicare so you can stay healthy, wealthy, and wise all year long.
Call me at 543-2073, 543-2073.
I was an addict from the age of 13. I finally decided it was time for a change. I walked into the Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Center, and that got me ready for the real world. Now, I choose to be guided by Jesus Christ, and today, I'm building a powerful and promising future, free from drugs and alcohol.
Please shop at the Salvation Army family stores. With our discounted sales, your support through your purchase helps men live a clean, sober, and productive life.
Got Vegas on your mind? Get Vacations Hawaii on the line. Vacations Hawaii offers weekly 4 and 5 night Honolulu to Vegas packages, which include 3 meals daily from $6.99. Stay at Hawaii's favorite casinos: California, Fremont, Main Street Station, and Orleans Hotel. Vacations Hawaii will get you there in comfort on deluxe wide-body 767 planes with complimentary in-flight hot meal service. Vacations Hawaii's frequent flyer program gives you future travel discounts and credits. So if you're ready to win big, call Vacations Hawaii at 591-4777 or visit PointVacationsHawaii.com.
Today, more than ever, we local people are living longer than any other state in the Union, with more seniors, baby boomers, and caregivers. Generations Radio promotes the importance to be proactive as we all age. The radio team will focus on issues facing our seniors and their families, finding resources to navigate healthy aging along with financial, legal, and caregiving information. So join Percy E. Howard from 5 until 6 each Saturday, right here on AM 690, The Answer. Focusing on the issues facing our seniors and their families today. Here's our Generations Radio host, Percy Ihara.
Welcome back to Generations Radio. We're here with Keith Kaneshiro, our prosecuting attorney, and Scott Spallina, the elder abuse lawyer, prosecutor at the Honolulu office here. But as you guys know, the February-March issue of Generations magazine is out. Please go ahead and grab a copy or several if you want, because they're going to run out. We're already getting calls from people. We're taking 5 and 10 at a time, giving it to their friends and family members. And as you guys know, you guys keep everyone, which is really a cool thing to do because it is a resource magazine. Go to our website, generations808.com, where you can read all the past issues as well as all the past stories on our Generations Radio show. And as well, we have some of the past presentations for our Aging in Place workshop. And as you guys know, this year, it was our 10th year doing our Aging in Place workshop. And that is on August 20th at the Alamon Hotel. It is Saturday, so mark your calendars for that. And it's very shortly, in probably in about a couple of weeks, we're going to announce our doing some monthly webinars, by the way. I'm the president this year of an organization called Hawaii Pacific Gerontological Society, which Scott is part of, and we're going to be doing monthly webinars statewide. In fact, if you're on the mainland, if you want to listen to these as well. Our first webinar will be on Friday, the March 18th, I believe that date is. Let's just double check that. March 18th will be our first webinar. You probably be able to go to hpgs.org to listen for that. If not, contact us through the magazine, Percy at generations808.com. But anyway, we're here with prosecuting attorney Keith Kaneshiro. Now, Keith, you have some experience in while caregiving as your parents. And, you know, if you guys want to go back, what year was that? 2013 or 2012? We did a cover story on you.
Yes, 2012,
I think it was.
Yes.
And that's one of my favorite pictures inside there in your library over there. Do you remember that?
The photographer, yeah.
Yeah, the photographer, Brian Suda,
he did a great job. And,
Yeah.
you know, I couldn't understand why he wanted me to pose, to be in the library, and he was explaining. And after I saw the picture, I realized he's a genius.
Yeah, looked like one of these things in the CSI or the crime reduction unit. Which I think your hands are crossed, but that was a great picture. And we talked a little bit about your parents and give us some of our readers that may not know about that. So your experience with caregiving.
Well, my parents were strong supporters of me. They really helped me through law school, my career. And when I decided not to run for re-election in 1996, I went into private practice. In a sense, it was a blessing in disguise because in private practice, I had more time, free time. And during those times, my mother got ill, and I was able to take her to all the doctor's appointments. And she eventually ended up in a nursing home. I would visit her every day. And I could see her go through her illness until she died. She died in 2005. And then my father got ill, and also took care of him, and he eventually passed away in 2008. But when I was in private practice and I was going through this experience and taking care of my parents, like I said, I took them to all the doctor's appointment and to whatever they went to, and when they went to hospital and things like that. I was able to see what elders go through. I saw other elders, and I saw elders at the hospital or at the doctor's office that really didn't understand what was happening to them and didn't understand the medical things. And I felt kind of bad that somebody wasn't there to help them. And I also saw some abuse of elders, and that the elders needed the protection, and somebody needed to speak for them and step up for them, because they had provided a lot to us in growing up, and people need to care for them and remember what they did for us. So when I went back to the prosecutor's office in 2010, one of my priorities was to beef up the elder abuse unit. Scott was already there, was Scott and another deputy. We decided to initially double the size, and now we tripled the size of the elder abuse unit, and we started taking a lot more cases. And to realize that some of the things that were going on were really elder abuse, and to protect the elders, we need to protect the elders. So my being away and helping my parents gave me a broader idea of what was going on in the community.
Experience.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why I would always, it's always a priority in our office to take care of the elder.
Well, let's hope we can support. I understand this year the bill for unannounced visits to care homes and nursing facilities was squashed. So hopefully it comes back next year in 2017, but that needs to happen to make sure there's investigations that they can go in at any time to do an investigation. As well, when they get recertified, you have to be announced. So that also, if the city or Department of Health wants to check up on a nursing facility, they should be able to go in at any time, or a care home.
And I agree with that. I think that's very important. That's why with my mother, I visited her every day.
I understand. You told me that, like, wow.
Yeah, I visited her in the morning when she got up. I fed her breakfast. And sometimes during midday, I would visit her, but then I would visit her at night, and I fed her dinner and help her with dinner to see her sleep. So I know what condition she was in when she slept. So when I come the next morning, I would see what happened. I would also keep a chart and tell the nurses to indicate certain things that they did, and I would check the chart. Because I think it's important that you check. Just because they're there, don't expect that everything is going to be happening. Sometimes they may forget to give the medication.
Right.
So I would check all of that. And some elders do not have children who's going to go and check up on them. And unfortunately, some nursing homes and some other care facilities know that and take advantage of that, and they won't do what they're supposed to do. So it's important that there's inspection and there's a check on the caregivers.
Well, your mother was lucky to have you. Like I said, there are a lot of families out there that don't, or the children live on the mainland, or they can't come, but only on the weekends because they're working, or they're like the baby boomers. They're a sandwich generation, taking care of the kids and also taking care of their parents.
That's right.
And it's really a serious issue. I know Senator Ross Baker recently brought out a bill for a 0.5% increase to the GE tax. That's not going to go this year as well. I think at some point down the road we have to look at that. Yes, it only produces $70 a day, but that could at least pay for adult daycare. It's for 365 days, so it doesn't have to be used all at one time. But I think it's something that we need to start thinking about.
Yeah, the cost of daycare is really skyrocketing, and some families cannot afford it. So, government is there to provide services that cannot be provided by individuals that they cannot have. And one of the services is to take care of the elders. And I think it's important. If we need to raise money for that, let's raise money for that.
Well, like I said, when you came into office, first thing you did, Scott told me here, we were going to hire more attorneys. So I appreciate that. So Scott Splina, the Senior Deputy Prosecuting Attorney on Elder Abuse, thanks for writing for the articles, all your great articles. You have some really nice stories. And in this February-March issue, we have Beware of the Friendly Stranger. Where do you come up with these topics and lines? You're really good at that.
Well, because We get it from people calling our office. I mean, most of our cases right now are coming from HPD, but because of efforts like yours and allowing us to get our word out, we get calls coming in from the public, and we get people saying, this has happened to me. This is like, I met somebody, I was at a big box store, let's say Lowe's, and someone approached me saying, I can help you install that. And it's like a cash-only type of situation, and they take the money and run. We had a situation last month where we sentenced a person to 15 years jail because he was targeting seniors, knocking on the doors, approaching them in public, saying, I can help you install this, I can help you fix this, and then you take the money and run. And I think we had a total of maybe 7 victims in that case, and the money taken was over $120,000.
It's only the people that we identified, too.
Exactly. That's the scary part, is because we know he just didn't target 7 people. I mean, there had to have been other people out there that just didn't come forward. And we've discussed this before, is that that's one of the tragedies of elder abuse, is that it's a hugely underreported crime there.
Yeah. And are there other common crimes that you see out there nowadays in the last few years? Like we talked about the green dot scam.
We talked about, I mean, basically lottery is still the number one thing that's killing us, is that people want to believe that they won a lottery they never heard of before. They want to believe that somebody is lucky enough to have gotten involved in a lottery and they won millions of dollars, and all they have to do is pay some pre-taxes. All they have to do is pay some fees, and they've gotten that. This time of year, we're seeing an increase in the IRS calling you up, saying you owe back taxes. If you don't pay us right away, you'll be arrested. So we get a lot of those cases as well. I'm hearing more reports from the public, people calling our office saying, I was a victim of a romance scam. I met somebody online. They fed me a good line. I wanted to believe it. They said they were my soulmate, and now I'm out tens of thousands of dollars. And so the crime's still happening out there.
Well, the scammers are really good.
Yeah, see, the reason why they're good is because our elder population is very trusting.
Right.
And they trust people. And they're not suspicious of people. They trust people, and they believe in the good in everybody. The other thing is the elder population accumulated a lot of wealth. They bought property. They work hard for their money. So they have money. And the criminals know this. They know that they're trusting, and they know that the elders have money. So that's why they're targeted. And that's why there's a need to protect the elders.
Yeah. And also there's a need to... I mean, all this hour, Keith has been talking to you about what's going on in our office, and I think one word is proactive. I mean, our office has been very proactive. I've been with the prosecutor's office now for 20 years.
It's been 20 years already.
It's been 20 years.
I mean, that photo of you I saw in the prosecutor's office with the long hair was 20 years ago?
20 years ago. Anyways, proactive. That seems to be...
that's a great word.
And we're going out there. We're going into the community. That's why we do have the Family Justice Center, the only shelter family justice center in the nation, and we're doing it here in Hawaii. We're having, and I'll have Keith talk about this more. One of his things is the Human Trafficking Summit coming up. Again, proactive, finding out solutions instead of just being reactive. And unfortunately, the prosecutors nationwide are more reactive. They're waiting for the crimes to happen, and then we prosecute. Our job is proactive. We're going out in the community. Like you've seen me, and I've seen you many times in the community lecturing about ways to prevent crime from happening. And that's why we use your magazine as a tool to educate the public on how to prevent being a victim. Right now, we're in the process of seeking a grant to hire more personnel for elder abuse, so that way we can take complaints directly from the public. Because sometimes the whole process of going through HPD or the police might be intimidating to some seniors.
Sure.
So if they can come directly to us, or if we can work closely with Adult Protective Services, because they're overworked, understaffed, if we can assist them in, again, bringing in more cases. That's another example of how our office is trying to be more proactive, and in this area we're trying to be more proactive with crime prevention involving the elderly.
Right. And Keith, you had mentioned there's going to be an international summit on sex trafficking?
Yes. What it is the sex trafficking is an international problem. It's not a problem just in the United States, but it's international, all countries. And the people involved, the victims, are international. So what we're doing in September of this year, we're going to bring I invited prosecutors from 8 Asian countries. We already got a response from 3 or 4 of them that they're going to attend. And we're going to bring district attorneys from the mainland. And we're going to come together and meet and discuss the prosecution of sex trafficking and how to work together with other law enforcement agencies. Now, we've seen a lot of the prostitutes or the victims of sex trafficking, a lot of them are from Asia. And they're all across the United States.
Mm-hmm. More and more, I think, from Asia.
Yeah, more from Asia. So we need to work closely with the governments and our prosecutors and our law enforcement in Asia when we're dealing with these cases. So we're going to share information. We're going to look at what kind of problems are out there, see how we can resolve some of the problems and discuss. And the main thing is meet one-to-one so the district attorneys from other cities on the mainland can meet with the prosecutors from the particular country and talk to them and establish that connection. So we're going to have a summit here about the last week in September. And we're looking forward to having a very productive. We had one on drug trafficking in 2011, and it was very successful. So we're going to do this with prosecutors from Asia.
Do you think we're having a lot of problems with prostitution in Waikiki? Is it growing? Still growing?
Yes. What we've done is we've had attacked the street prostitution problem. We have used the prostitutes to testify against pimps, and we were able to, from 2011, we were able to incarcerate and put into prison 8 pimps already.
Really, I didn't
from
know
a gang that was operating prostitution on the streets. Now we're looking at massage parlors, and in massage parlors you have prostitutes, and some of the prostitutes are forced, some of them are underage, and we're looking at dealing with that. And we have cases already. We have indicted some massage parlor owners. We have other massage parlors under investigation right now, and we have cooperation of the people who work in our massage parlors who are working with us. But the thing I really want to go after a lot more and get more help from is the children, the kids from school that are truants and runaways ending up on the streets and involved in prostitution. And that's why the bill that's going through is going to really hurt us in addressing that. So it's important that bill doesn't pass with those provisions. So we want to help the kids in school. And that's why everybody think, you're dealing with the prostitutes, they're all from Asia or from the mainland. But no, these are local kids involved. And we're trying to take care of the local kids.
Well, talking about local, one of the biggest topics we've been talking about in the paper or seen in the paper is that the new law about medical marijuana. So has that been passed already?
Yes, medical marijuana is legal in Hawaii. And what also has passed is they passed to allow for dispensaries of medical marijuana. The only thing that's left is to decide who's going to be operating the dispensaries of medical marijuana. Now, I have my opinions about whether the law is passed or not. I still disagree. I don't think that marijuana should be as pervasive and easy to get. I know in other states, because we know the next thing coming down is the legalization of recreational marijuana. Other states that have done that, they've had problems.
Right.
And the problems involve with impacting kids. The kids are eating candies that's laced with marijuana, and it has an effect on them. We've seen more accidents, traffic accidents occurring as a result of people under the influence of marijuana. And these happen in other states, and we think it's going to happen here also.
So medical marijuana, don't you have to have a prescription to buy it?
Yes, to get it, yes.
But I had a friend of mine just come back from Seattle and picked up a bunch, and I don't know how Seattle is or Denver is, but I thought it was always a similar bill.
Well, in Seattle and Denver, it's recreational marijuana is legal.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why they can just go in a store.
So they started with medical marijuana,
Yes.
and they went to recreational.
Yes.
Well, I heard in Denver it's really getting popular, and people are moving there. Property values are going up because people are moving in. It's a pretty scary thought.
Property values are going up, and when property values go up, homeless rate go up because people can afford.
And it's a pretty scary thought. But so Scott, You want to talk about proactive? Let's get back to the senior issues. What are some of the proactive tips that you can give out to them, to their families? Because we see a lot of crimes within the family, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I think that Keith brought up something very important because, like you say, your article is dedicated to Alzheimer's right now and being a caregiver of someone who has a family member suffering from that. Stay involved. I mean, Keith was a perfect example of how to stay involved if a loved one is in a care facility. I know we've spoken in the past about how my father-in-law, he's been in and out of care facilities, suffering from cancer, from strokes or whatever, and that's something that a family member can do is visit often. I mean, we were at some really good care homes, but we noticed that the people that were not being visited, their lights were off most of the time. We never saw any staff go in there. But sure enough, as soon as our family walked in there almost daily, the nurses followed us. And they'd fluff up the pillow and they'd, oh, he's doing good and all that stuff like that. So the nurses knew that, hey, this person's being watched out for. This person there's an active family member there. Because oftentimes I get calls from the public saying, oh, this so-and-so is doing this, so-and-so is doing this. Then I say, when was the last time you visited your parents? Oh, I haven't. And it's like, well, you need to be involved.
Yes.
And not only physically seeing them, but being involved in their daily activities, communicating with them, maybe helping them go through the mail. We've had, believe it or not, we've had adult children finding out that their parents got married. Married to a bar girl that's maybe 20 years their junior. And they're saying, I never knew that my dad was this lonely to where he actually married somebody, was financially supporting somebody until I went through their bills, until I went through and started asking questions. Dad, what is this? Dad, what's going on here? So that's very important. Realizing that, Dad, you have all this retirement money. How come we get all these like overdue? Oh, because I'm in the lottery right now. And I won, I just need to pay some taxes. So it's a lot of the family members that are involved with their parents' life that are the reporters of the crime, because a lot of our victims don't even realize that they are victims.
Well, I think family needs to stay together, and yes, they need to visit more often. Now, are you guys working any more closer of a partnership with Adult Protective Services, or handling more cases with them?
Yes. We are the Adult Protective Services. When they do the investigation, initially they'll send the cases to the Attorney General's office, but they do inform us of that investigation. A lot of those cases cannot be prosecuted by the Attorney General's office because it does not fit in their guidelines. So it ends up in our office, so we have to prosecute those cases. And as Scott's saying there, we are seeking a federal grant on financial exploitation of elders. And a lot of the case with Adult Protection Service has to do with some of these things, and they're not equipped to investigate that. So we're going to trying to get a financial investigator to start doing investigators, because the police can only investigate so much, and they have tons of cases. And we want to make sure these cases get addressed. If it goes to the police, it might be at the bottom of the stack. It might take a while to do. And when you have elder victims, you cannot wait a while, because they age,
right?
So we need to address those cases. So we're going to try and set up a financial exploitation unit under elder abuse.
Well, a lot of it is financial, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, that's the vast majority of it. And like you mentioned before, it's not only financial, but also it's being perpetrated by family members. And that's the sad part. I mean, when you have adult children stealing from their parents, stealing from their grandparents because they have access to the money, they violate the trust that the parent has put in them. And, I mean, we've had stories where, again, people from the public saying, I lost my house because my son tricked me into signing this. I only thought I was co-signing a loan for him, and turned out to be a quick claim deed. Or I pulled out money to do a refi, and I mean that's one reason that you and I always talk about the advantages of maybe using a reverse mortgage, the advantages of using estate planning to prevent these crimes from happening, so that way you don't make emotional decisions with your money and fall into these traps and these scams.
Well, yeah, on the mortgage side, when anybody uses a reverse a power of attorney, we also want to make sure it's valid. So we require a doctor's letter, sometimes 2 doctor's letters, to make sure that it's valid. We always watch the money as well from afar to see what's coming out. Because I've had cases in the past where they took the money and helped their own business, One person did try to transfer the deed, but the attorney caught it because the son went back to the family attorney to tell him, can you take it out of my mom's name and put it in my name? And so he told all the siblings, I don't know if it's legal or not, but he told all the guys' brothers and sisters, hey, by the way, your brother's trying to do this. And they stopped the whole thing. But I've seen situations where the families and siblings do come to me and say, I want to use a power of attorney. And we have to be very, very careful because when they qualify for a mortgage, it can be a big amount. You know?
And that's one thing is like a lot of parents that are listening to your show right now or grandparents are saying, my son, my daughter would never steal from me. Unfortunately, a lot of times the son or the grandson doesn't realize what they're doing is stealing, or they might think they're owed the money. They might say, well, I'm a caregiver, therefore I deserve this, or you're going to give it to me anyways, therefore I deserve this. So that's one thing that victims of these crimes cannot get their mind around sometimes is that your child is committing a crime against you. They may not admit they're committing that crime against you, but they are. And what they're doing is wrong. And so a lot of our parents, I mean, we're all parents here, we have these rose-colored glasses of what our children are, and ignoring the reality of sometimes their actions.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. And we see when you see family members like that. But so, and I understand you mentioned June is Elder Abuse Month? Or
Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And it's initiative brought on by the United Nations, actually. It's a World Awareness Day where we're all supposed to remember that elder abuse is happening in our world. Elder abuse is happening every day. So just don't think about it just the one day in June 15th. And so usually nationwide, worldwide, there's events going on highlighting and marking that there's elder abuse happening there.
Well, we're going to have to get on with our new partners, KITV, because every Saturday and Sunday morning they do an aging segment called Aging Well. And I'm just trying to find a date of the 15th. When is the 15th? June 15th. June 15th is on a Wednesday. So we'll have to get you in on our Aging Well segment for KITV. And by the way, all those interviews that are on Aging Well for KITV will be posted on our new website coming in about 2 weeks. But Keith, we got a few more minutes. Any last parting words or proactive tips that we can know about what we should be doing in our community here?
No, I think the community should, one thing they should do is be the eyes and ears of the police. When something occurs, if it's suspicious, call and let us know about it. One of the things that happened, and it was when there was a widespread amount of gambling places, all these gambling machines all over. What happened was there were a lot of complaints because a lot of crimes were occurring in those particular areas. And that's why we addressed it.
You shut down a lot of them, right?
We shut it all. We shut it all down. Now they're underground. They're behind closed doors and stuff. They're still operating, but we're aware of where they are. But it was important that we address it right away because crimes were occurring in those communities. Businesses were being hurt. So as soon as we started to seize the machines, a lot of the places pulled out the machines and shut down. And it made a big impact in those communities. So if the community respond and they see something happen, they respond and let us know. Let the police know we can address it.
Yeah, it's really so important. That's why we do this show as well, to be proactive and get all the word out. Scott, any last words on elder abuse that we should be worried about?
Well, I mean, just following up what Keith was saying is that there's really no such thing as a hidden crime because even though now the gambling signs don't have the neons, they're still going out there and there's still crime involved in those, like the theft of property to feed the habit of gamblers. But also, like you mentioned before with the sex trafficking, it's not just the prostitutes that you see in Waikiki. It's these brothels, it's these massage parlors, and those people are preying on our children. Those people also have an adverse effect. So a lot of people say like, hey, no harm, no foul, oldest profession, all those kind of justifications. But it has a domino effect on our society that you just can't say there's a hidden crime that's not affecting anybody because it affects everybody one way or the other.
Roundabout way it does. So thanks, Prosecuting Attorney Keith Kaneshiro and
Thank you,
Abuse
Percy.
Attorney Scott Spallina.
Thank you.
We're here every Saturday from 5 to 6, Sunday from 3 to 4 here on AM 690, The Answer. And also as well, please like us on our Facebook page. We do have a LinkedIn page, but also go to our website, generations808.com. So until next week, I appreciate you spending time with us. Have a great weekend. Aloha and live well.